situation. Yeah. So as you probably know, as of next Monday, we're fully online teaching. What does that mean? Well, it means that there'll be no face-to-face tutorials as such, and there won't be any presentations like this. So presentations at IKEA, lectures, any kind of year meetings won't be happening in this space. The way we'll do it is all resources will be put online, so through Blackboard, and then in terms of tutorials, we'll do that through various means, which we're kind of currently working out. So we'll be using things like email as normal, but looking at using Skype and group tutorials through that and similar kind of things. So we'll keep you informed as and when we're sorting that out, but we will continue to have contact with you, so that's not a problem. I think the good thing is, trying to put a positive spin on it, it's happened at a good time of the year. So you've all done 2 projects, you've all kind of got to a place where you've put a body of work together, and now there's this project that's happening that has quite a clear brief and a clear output. So it's not a bad time for us. Even with 3rd years, it's at a time where it's just about getting on with work. So if it's happened to any course at any time, it kind of works for us. So I just want to reassure you of that. Now, we know that not all of you have got laptops or access to computers at home. We're aware of that. There's a meeting that's happening today, so this has all happened really quickly. So there's a meeting that happens today that will in upper management, then that will filter down to us. We'll be able to let you know about if any computers or software will be available to you, but assume that it isn't, yeah? So what that means is you just have to consider how you put your work together. Now, when we mark or judge or grade your work, we will take that into consideration. So if you've produced a beautiful plan that's hand-drawn, photographed, composed and emailed to us, that's just as good as if it's done on a computer. We're judging the same things. It's presentation, design, rigor, thoroughness, all that sort of stuff. It's just being looked at with a slightly different eye. So we're having to adapt a little bit, and you'll just have to adapt a little bit as well. It's unprecedented. This has not happened to us before. It's not happened to anyone before, and it's a constantly changing thing. So we'll keep you up to speed, but I think we've just got to kind of communicate and help each other out. But it's just to reassure you that you'll be fine. You will genuinely be fine. Our priority is to make sure that you're safe and healthy, and if that means that we have to take these measures as a university, that's what we're doing. But in terms of your education, it will be different, but it won't affect it in a bad way. Okay? Any questions? Yes, more than you.
In terms of like, say, access to computers and stuff,
yeah.
Does that mean like studio will be like completely shut off?
So the answer to that at this moment in time is we don't know. So all teaching goes online as of next week. However, that doesn't mean at this moment in time that the university will be closed. But that might change.
Yeah.
So I work on the assumption that as of next week, there's no access to studio space. That might not be the case, but at least if you're working towards like worst case scenario, you know where you stand. But we'll just keep it.
Did you have a question, Cheryl?
Yeah, is it everywhere, like the library, will that be closed?
Again, it's the same answer as it stands now. So this all kind of happened yesterday. So yesterday, 3 o'clock, we got the official email that this is happening. It's like the domino effect. All the universities up and down the country have started to do this. I think London School of Economics were the first a couple of weeks ago because they had a case of the coronavirus, so had to adapt quite quickly. And then there's other universities that have had cases we haven't had a case, but for a precautionary measure, that's happening. I guess the other thing is we don't know how long this will go on for. So our first target is next Monday, the 23rd, to make sure we're up to speed. Our target after that is Easter, which is not that far off, which is also the end of this project. And then after that, we'll see the best way forward. I think CoLab will be replaced in some way, but what that is, we just don't know right now. We'll play it on a day-by-day basis, but we don't want you to lose out. We want to keep you busy and want to make sure that you kind of can hand everything in and you're graded fairly, which is the important thing. The flip side of that is it's not an excuse just to bugger off and not do anything. And I'm sure that wouldn't be the case for any of you. It's, as far as we're concerned, things continue as normal, just in a slightly different way. So if you've got a project, you'd still be expected to hand things in for that project of a certain quality and a certain standard. It just might be done in a slightly different way. Is that all right? Anything else?
So if we do like some like proper sick drawings, like if we can't get access to...
Could you clarify what sick means? It feels inappropriate language.
Like,
really good?
Really good.
Really
Well,
good.
we'd always reward really good drawings.
Yeah, but obviously if that can't go along with CAD, etc.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I think us as a course are quite good at that, at sort of rewarding different ways of doing things. And so I think we understand that, one, if you've not got access to a computer or access to Vectorworks, there's no expectation for you to do it through that. But also, if you're really good at drawing, which you might know someone who is, use that skill. I think the other thing is as well is, I know there's no criteria for this in this project, but in terms of models, we're just kind of removing that in terms of, if you want to make a model, brilliant, but obviously there might be limited access to 3D printers, laser cutters and all that kind of thing. So don't feel obliged to use that, or feel if you haven't done that, that's going to be detrimental. I think some of you might have done in the previous projects, kind of thought, right, I'm going to use that time to make a really sick, like 3D printed laser cut model, but that opportunity isn't there anymore. Maybe, that's fine. All right. So I think we'll kind of be flexible as well. All right. Is that okay?
What we will need to do is sort of, we'll need to contact you to find out the best way to contact you. Yeah, whether that's through email, through Skype, through FaceTime. Yeah?
Yeah.
So we'll be doing that as a sort of collective year group and courses.
Yeah.
So you need to just make sure you kind of respond to that, because then we can make sure we've got things in place.
Yeah. So for third years, we sent out a Google form asking a few questions, and what's quite interesting is not everyone's happy to be Skyped, which I completely understand, but it's important we have some sort of communication method with you. So we'll do a similar thing for all years, and work out the best way of doing that. But I think either way, it'll be a way of submitting or discussing stuff online, offering kind of clear feedback so you know where you're going, and then giving clear instruction about how to submit and what to submit. But we submit all our stuff online anyway, so it shouldn't make a massive difference. All right.
Toby's got a question.
Sorry, one more thing.
Yeah.
So we're not. Is it just going to be like if I Skyped you, for example?
Yeah, Skype me.
Not on a Saturday.
Yeah.
On a weekday.
From my mum call.
Then would it just be me and you? But wouldn't like be Skyping you with Josh for a group tutorial or something?
Well, I think we need to, like I said, this happened yesterday. We were thinking about this last week. There are ways of doing group tutorials.
I'm not asking.
No.
That's the way you want to do it.
I think we just need to look at it. Also, it comes down to a certain extent, personal preference as well. So we're assuming that everyone's all right with Skype. that hasn't been the case. We're assuming that everyone might be alright with doing a group tutorial. That might not be the case. So I think we just need to sort of find a level on that as well. Alright.
And we can do that through laptops. Yeah, we can do it through phones as well. So we can use different mobile devices. Often, I'll Skype with or FaceTime students on placement, and we have a good discussion and find out how things are going on. Yeah. So there's different ways that we can contact you.
And I think, sorry, I was just going to say, I think the tutorial should be quite an informal thing anyway, where it's two people or a group of people having a discussion. The Skype FaceTime version of that should be the same as well. It should be just bringing a professional or a friend for advice about a project and being able to sort of communicate that. I think the important thing for us is just making sure that it's not ambiguous, because I think sometimes things can be lost in translation through Skype or through FaceTime or through that sort of medium. So we just need to make sure that everything's clear. So we might back it up with some written feedback as well, but just bear with us. All right. Yeah, sorry.
Do you think this virus will affect placements at all?
As in placements coming up?
Yeah.
As it stands at the moment, people currently out on placement have all been contacted and been advised to carry on or return, depending on what their personal preference is. The short answer is we don't really know. I think because you're stepping outside of the university at that point, so you've heard from IKEA, they don't really know what's happening with the shop or anything like that. So you can imagine that if this continues for a prolonged period of time, it will affect businesses, I think, and then that will affect whether they look to take people on or not. So I think you've got to have a bigger world view of it rather than just the placement. It's the whole economy that's been affected. So just bear that in mind. Yeah. All right. Let's crack on with IKEA now.